afternoon. It's once again Friday at 5:30. This is your host for the next 25 minutes of the most interactive television show in America, Hotline 21. And of course, this is your host, Congressman Danny Davis, and I'm always excited and delighted when Friday comes around because it gives me the opportunity to listen to you, the people, to talk with you, the people, to share thoughts, ideas, and concepts with you, the people, and to give you a little bit of an update on what's going on in Washington, District of Columbia, which is where public decisions are made that affect the entire United States of America. And whatever goes on there affects everybody in the country one way or the other. On a personal note, I had a very good week in Washington. And when I say a good week, I mean things that I support and things that I believe in and things that will help people that I represent and people like those all over the country. Some of those things were passed this week. We passed, I think, about 5 or 6 bills that came out of the Committee on Ways and Means. And that section of the committee that I work the most with, dealing with things that affect children, children who are homeless, children who are foster children, who don't have parents of their own that they live with, and they live with foster parents, children who are wards of the state, meaning that whatever state they live in actually has charge of them and their activity, and that there are laws that govern all of these things. And so several laws, one bill, for example, that I was the principal co-sponsor of, with a Republican person was a bill that makes it easier for people to adopt children across state lines. And that is to say, if a child lives in Illinois and somebody in Indiana want to adopt them or to become a foster parent for them, it usually would take longer for that to occur than if the child lived in Indiana and somebody in Indiana was going to adopt them. And I think we've speeded up that process so that children will not have to wait as long to find a foster parent or be adopted just because they live in a different state than the person who's willing to adopt them. Might sound like that doesn't mean anything. Well, it might not mean much to you if you're not a foster child. Might not mean much to you if you're not trying to adopt a foster child. And so it may not mean anything to you at all, but it means something to a lot of people in America, and I am delighted with that. I think we have a caller on the line, so I'm going to go ahead and take that call. Then I'm going to come back and talk a little bit about another bill that we just passed this morning. Caller, are you there?
Yes, Congressman Davis, I want to say this. I'm glad that you're from Illinois because I saw on C-SPAN what you did to that one guy about sugar.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
Remember that? And then he wanted to pass it on to the agricultural. And then you said, wait a minute. If it's about losing jobs, that's your job. And he said to be followed. He didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
You put him in his place. See, he thought that you were a little oriented, but you put him up there. I mean, I was so proud. And of course, you're always looking spiffy.
Well, let me tell you, that just makes my day. Yeah, you were watching that hearing with the United States Trade Representative. And you know, we've lost candy companies like Brock Candy and other companies that moved out of Chicago because they couldn't make money paying so much for the cost of sugar. So I thank you. Thank you very much. You just made my day. All right, we'll take this next caller. Caller, are you there?
Yeah, how you doing, Congressman Davis?
James, I'm fine. How are you?
Okay, now when you talk about the law, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, they talk about the law. Okay, like when that guy went to South Korea, he came back to the United States, right?
Did he go to South Korea or did he go to North Korea?
North Korea. Okay, when he came back to the United States, they say he died, but Congressman Davis. Now, when you talk about the law, right? Now, the media always talk about people follow the law, right? Now how can they talk about how can the media and other people get mad because about what happened in South Korea because they police and they do it here in the United States to African Americans all the time, Congressman Davis. And then how can they talk about South Korea did wrong to that guy, and they do it here in African America all the time. The police beat on people here in the United States all the time, Congressman Davis.
Well, they do sometimes. I don't know if I would say all the time. But the gentleman went to North Korea, and the North Koreans suggested that he violated the law and the rules there, and therefore they arrested him. And I guess they just held him and kept him, and he got sick.
You've been right all along, Congressman Davis. You've been right all along.
And so finally they did let him come home. We are allies of South Korea. Our country is not an ally of North Korea. As a matter of fact, a Korean friend of mine's wife just died, and I actually sent a condolences to them, but they are from South Korea.
Okay.
And this was in North Korea is where Rodman, the former ball player, goes, and he seemed to have a relationship with the head of that country. But thank you so much, James. You'll be up on the news. You know what's happening.
The media and Donald Trump, they got angry about that. And they do it here all the time to African American Congressman Davis.
Right on. You couldn't be more on the money. Our only difference is I don't say all the time. I say some of the time.
Like God working mysterious ways. You're not doing a good job, Congressman Davis.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think we had another caller. Caller, are you there?
Yes, good evening, Congressman Davis. It was just in the newspapers that Omarosa Manigault sent personal invitations to all 49 members of the Black Caucus to meet with President Trump to discuss whatever your concerns are. And no one of those 49 members of the Black Caucus has bothered to accept and start the process of trying to work with the president to perhaps work out some cost-effective solutions to whatever your concerns are for the members of your congressional district. So my question to you is, do you think that it's about time that some people set aside whatever their own self-pride is, and actually start working for the members of your congressional district and agree to meet with President Trump so you can start working on some common ground. I just cannot understand why people keep posturing as time goes by, and there may be some very agreeable grounds that would benefit everyone. So why not be the first one of your caucus to say, you know what, that's not a bad idea. Let's sit down with the president and see what can be worked out for the betterment of everyone. So my question to you is, why not accept and go?
Well, let me tell you, if you had been watching C-SPAN on yesterday when the House was in session, it sounded like a love fest in terms of we passed 6 bills that were agreed to by enough members of both Democrats and Republicans to pass the House.
Right.
Let me just finish and I'm going to get to, I'll get to your question. It is true that the 49 members of the Congressional Black Caucus each received an individual letter from Ms. Omarosa, and several members of the caucus felt insulted. To be very honest about it, we did have a meeting, and they felt that the letter should have come from the president himself, not from an aide, saying that on behalf of the president, I am inviting you. And then she actually signed her name, the Honorable, or she had that kind of title. Now, things like that don't always bother me that much. I mean, but several members were upset that they were receiving the correspondence from her. But in addition to that, the caucus leadership had already met with the president, and they had given the president a 150-page communique with issues and concerns, and they had asked the president to make cabinet secretaries and other members of his staff available to meet to explore issues. And we never got a response to that. I'm saying we have already given the president our expressions of concern. So the caucus members, and I'll be through in a second.
All right.
So the caucus members decided at that moment, and we did respond, but we responded as a group and not as individuals, because some of the caucus members took this to be an attempt on the part of the president's staff to divide the caucus and have somebody saying, yes, I will go, and somebody else saying, I will go, and somebody else saying, I won't go. And so we decided that unity is the strongest weapon that we have, and that we're not relating to the president on just an individual basis, but on the basis of the entire group and our representation of African Americans in this country. That was our rationale.
Well, in the president's position, you have to, yesterday he was signing, or was it earlier today rather, the veterans bill. He's an awfully busy person, just as I'm sure you are, but you do have to make use of your administrative staff, and again, coordinating things within the bureaucracy, which is government, can be a monumental task. And I don't see it as trying to divide anybody. I think a lot of times when people won't get together as a group and sit down face to face, people have scheduling. People make a living by being appointment setters and scheduling things. So I still say you should take the lead and be one of the first. And damn what other people think. If you go through life always concerned what everybody else is thinking when you could be making progress, I don't think you're helping anybody, but I'll get off the line because
Oh, no, I think you have a right to your opinion and an entitlement. And if I get 25 other people who tell me what you just told me, then I'll do it.
But not many people can seem to even try to
I'm
articulate.
saying, yeah, I get about, I get at least 100 letters or so almost every day from people. I sometimes get many more than that. All I'm really saying is that I try and represent the majority, and many of the people that I represent call my office and say, I have not been as tough on the president as they'd like for me to be. I mean, that's been the tenor.
Well, I hope there's enough people listening. I hope there's 25 people listening that see the logic to then writing you and asking you to at least give it a try. You're doing the same thing the same way, and you're not going to get a different result when you could. And so I hope there's 25 people listening. I don't even know that there are anymore, to be honest with you. Everybody likes to think that these programs get a lot of viewers and you get the same 3 or 4 people calling, but I'll get off the line.
All right.
Good evening.
Thank you so much. Well, I think we've got another caller on the line. Caller, are you there?
Dr. Davis,
yes.
Representative 7th District. I just had to say this, okay? Maybe some people want to disagree with me. Fine. Violence is not a solution. No one should be talking about assassinating a president, a senator, or a congressman because they have a different views of opinion. Now, if you have a different view of opinion and that energy you want to take, try to plan how to kill somebody, why don't you organize, put together a group or something like that where you can voice your opinion the right way, the legal way, in a constructed way. Because if you don't like a certain politician, how they represent somebody, throw them out of office. Get communities together. But don't be talking about assassination because it's not all right. Somehow some people feel as though because they are politicians, it's okay to assassinate them. And then we got children listening to this stuff. And violence only begets violence. And we need to be talking about things and doing things in a much more constructive way. It's never all right to assassinate a politician because of different viewpoints. And we need, like I said, if you got a disagreement, like I said, every 4 years or 6 years, whatever, you got the right to hire and fire them by your vote.
You're right. And they do us every 2 years.
You take care.
Yeah, you too. And I, I think our country, unfortunately, is so divided. And things are happening that I hope will not happen. I've always attempted to be as civil as I can be in the public decision-making place. And as I just indicated, we just collaborated with a group of Republicans and passed meaningful bills out of the legislative branch of the government, the U.S. House of Representatives. Those bills are not just the thinking of one person or 2 people. There are 435 members of the House, and those bills represent the thinking of, at the very least, a majority, and in some instances, at least a 2/3 majority when we suspend the rules and pass something. I hope that we can reach more common ground. I hope that Democrats and Republicans and the president and other people can come together, and we can always put the best interests or what is for the best interests of our country on the table, and let that be the guiding light. And you know, as we do that, and I've got to just mention, you know, the ICE raided a place the other day, and many of the people that they took out were illegal residents, individuals who had come to this country, and they were working. And as a result, we got a call from a company located in Chicago and Cicero, Illinois, and they have jobs available for shipping and receiving, a gatekeeper, forklift operator, engineering manager, production trainers, ammonia supervisor, packaging and production operator, second shift, janitors, $13 to $15 an hour. And so these jobs start at $12 and go up. So, you know, if anybody knows someone, as a matter of fact, I'm going to actually say that, you know, you can call my office and ask for a fellow named Raymond Guy. And that number is 773-533-7520. And he may be able to connect you with the people who have these jobs available. Let me also mention, and I think our call is already, but on September 8th and 9th, if you would put it on your calendar, we will have a State of the African American Male conference at the University of Illinois at the Forum. If you want some additional information about this, you can call my office at 773-533-7520, because we are hoping to have 1,000 men who come to this event, and let's talk about in a real way what the issues, problems, and concerns are facing African American males in the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. I've got about a minute, so caller, you want to take that? Okay, I think the caller did hang up. But we will have that discussion. If you are part of a men's group, or if the people at your church, or you've got boys on your block, or you want to learn how to organize, say, a Little League program, or a Boy Scout troop, all kinds of entities are collaborating with us. The Boy Scouts of America, WVON Radio, iHeart Radio, the University of Illinois at Chicago, outstanding psychiatrists and psychologists, educators, the Black Star program that Phil Jackson heads up, and they're going to have a great event tomorrow at 10 o'clock at 5100 South King Drive at the Metropolitan Church. If you don't have anything that you're doing, go out there and watch this ceremony. Watch these graduates. Watch this graduation. Be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. Our time is up. Have a wonderful weekend, and hopefully we'll see you next week.